Today is April 15th. I figured today would be the best day to release my new documentary of why I refuse to pay my taxes. For the record, I only own $5,000 worth of possessions. I could be a millionaire if I applied myself to doing such, but it's the principles of the matter. These are the reasons I have drawn a line in the sand and refused to pay the IRS. Hello everyone. So this next section is going to be about taxes. I openly don't pay my taxes. I'm very open and honest about that. I refuse to be an accessory to the government's crimes. I feel they're committing lots of crimes. I will not contribute to that. I will not be a part of it. And I'm not going to fund it in any way, shape, or form. I have personally drawn a line in the sand and said I will not contribute. And they are more than welcome to take me to court. I will represent myself. And in my eyes, all I have to do is prove that they have committed a crime at some point, and therefore I should not have to be forced to be an accessory to their crimes. I believe in jury nullification, and that the jury has the ability to not only decide the guilt or innocence of the person on trial, but the law itself. So that's what I'm shooting for. Lawyers can't question the law because they have a bar association that they have to abide by. I don't have that, so I can question the law, and I fully intend to. This subject seems to have recently become a political issue, and for me, I haven't been paying taxes for over 20 years. It started when I was younger. I made some mistakes. I made a bunch of money, had a bunch of guys working for me, paid them all cash, and never filed taxes on any of them, so I ate about $700,000 in taxes. Since then, I have been put in an uncollectible status. They said after 10 years it would be wiped off my record, and that as long as I didn't make more than $35,000 a year, I would be okay. Since then, it's been 10 years, and I do believe I have now beat the IRS for $700,000. Since then, I have drawn a line in the sand and just said I won't do it based on principles and morals. I will not contribute to them. Which leads me full circle to where we're at right now. I don't abide by either the left or the right side. I think that it's all an illusion to kind of try and keep us fighting. So I don't have nothing to do with that. I did claim to be a libertarian before. The Libertarian Party's kind of got out of hand, but I still stick to pretty much those libertarian morals, except I have now transferred it to a local level and created my own political system. I call it localism, and where we just do our own thing locally. That's the only thing we can control. We can't control the larger governments. It's so large and beyond our capabilities, and it's run by money and larger entities, and it's something that we can't control. So I focus on what we can, which is locally right where we're standing, and to me, that's the only logical solution. But from a libertarian standpoint, there are certain things that I just will not budge on, and one of those is I basically believe in the do unto others as you want done unto you principle, and I would not like somebody invading my country. So I think that we should bring all of our troops home, protect our borders, and if our country's ever invaded, you can bet everything you have that I will be there fighting for this country. But until that moment happens, I think that we need to mind our own business and bring all our troops home. That's just my personal beliefs, but I will not fund the wars and stuff that's going on. I don't want any part of that. I want to make it perfectly clear that I support the troops and that I am eternally grateful for their service and for them putting their lives on the line. I cannot tell them how much I appreciate their courage and their fortitude in doing that. The amount of bravery it takes to do something for the greater good is something like that, and just put your whole life on the line is immense. And I can't tell you guys how much I appreciate you all. It's not anything to do with you guys that I have a problem with. You guys are courageous and honorable for putting your lives on the line, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate your service and what you do. But I do not support the government and the people that run the government and the ones that are telling your orders. I do not support them in any way, shape, or form, and nor will I be a part of that. And I want to make it perfectly clear that that's where that line is drawn. I commend every soldier out there that has the fortitude and bravery to stand up and do something for the greater good and stand with their brethren. But I won't support the government pushing you guys into what they're doing. I think it's terrible, and I think they're using you guys for terrible means, and I think it's wrong. And it's wrong on so many levels, and they're taking your good hearts and your good motives and your good intentions, and they're manipulating it and doing bad things with it, and I will not be a part of making that happen. And that's just where I want to make everything out in the open and make it all perfectly clear. The second big thing is the Federal Reserve. I believe the Federal Reserve is manipulating our monetary system and basically making us all their wage slaves through extortion and fraudulently manipulating the system. And I will not be a part of the Federal Reserve, and I will not fund that, and I don't want anything to do with it. I once again want to make it perfectly clear that I do not support either side, the Republicans or the Democrats, and I don't want to be affiliated or have it construed like I am. So I'm probably not going to win a lot of people over with this because everybody seems to be one side or the other, but I stand on my morals and I stand on what I believe in. That's just who I am, and I can't help but be anything but honest and open with everyone. When I went to North Carolina and donated time, I had always thought that in natural disasters, the government came in and just helped everybody and saved the day, and it was just a great thing. But come to find out, that's not the case at all, in any way, shape, or form. I think what they mainly did out there, they were offering people $750, and from there, they left them pretty high and dry. I mean, there were people hit and miss that got help, but for the most part, it didn't seem to be doing much. And I know that the government was there in the beginning, so a lot of people said, but when I was there a month later, everybody still needed help massively, and they just weren't there to be found. And it was just really a sad, heartbreaking ordeal, and that made me want to not pay taxes even more, because I wanted to in turn try and put boots on the ground and help people instead of depending on the government to do it. Because every time somebody touches money in the government, they put their dirty little fingers on it and take out of it. And so it's not a logical idea to keep continuing to let the government run rampant. That's just my philosophy in life. But when I came home, I had been talking previously about not paying my taxes and many other things. So when I came home, I found letters in the mail from the IRS, and I had 13 letters from the IRS, all addressed to me. So somebody in the IRS is paying attention to what I'm doing right now, and somebody has taken an interest. So once again, I will not back down. I am not fearful. I will stand up for myself, and I'm going to just lay it all out on the line. So for every letter you guys sent me, I'm going to openly and honestly open it up, say what I owe, and then I'm going to give one of the many reasons why I will not pay you, and just simply explain a law that I think you guys are breaking, or some way that you're harming humanity and hurting people in some kind of way. I also believe in the no victim, no crime policy. If there is no victim, there is no crime. But if you've harmed somebody, there is actually a crime there, and a victim has been created, and I feel that taxation is theft. So I honestly feel that the government's stealing from all of us, and that is a crime, and I will not support it. And that's just to begin with. You can go way further down the rabbit hole on that one. I got all these letters in early December when I got back from North Carolina and helping people out there. So I've had them for a couple months now. I just haven't had a chance to get to this. It's been on my list of things to do. But as far as the letters I got and what I'm standing up for, I'm just going to, every letter you guys gave me, I will in turn show how you guys are breaking a law and how I morally won't pay you. I'm not going to say I'm an atheist. I believe that we're all connected through energy. I don't know whether it has a consciousness, whether it does or doesn't. There's a lot of things. I don't claim to know, and I think the idea of God is maybe bigger than we can understand. I don't claim to know it or understand it. I'm just looking for answers through this universe as I go, and I stay open-minded to everything. But I can see how everything's connected in some way, shape, or form. But beyond that, I have a certain set of morals, and you can call it religion, you can call it whatever it is, but those morals I will not bend from, and I will not back down. And these are my morals that I'll stand up for. But at the same time, I do see how the many things that our taxes fund could help out and help society. But being forced to pay these things is not morally right. Holding a gun against our head and forcing us to do it, and then manipulating the money on such a massive level is not right. It's not the proper way to do things. So personally, I think that we should have the voluntary decision to have a multiple choice questionnaire, and we just get to pick what entities we want to fund. So our taxes, we figure out how much we would normally pay, and we can choose not to pay anything, nothing at all. Or we could just choose to put an X next to the ones we do fund and what we would normally fund, or we could fund less or more or whatever we want. But you can give a breakdown onto what percentage of our taxes would go to what fund, and we can choose to fund these entities, these big government entities. And from there, the Democrats can fund the Democrat stuff, and the Republicans can fund the Republican stuff, and we can just all get along and fund the things we want to fund. But from there, it's a completely voluntary system. And at that point, what we can do in order to balance the budget tomorrow, we just simply have those government entities work from the budgets that we choose to give them. So if we give them a certain budget. That's their budget that they have to work from. They don't get endless checks to write just openly and do whatever they want. No, they get to work from the budgets that we voluntarily give them, and that's how the government works from this point. And we don't have to shut these agencies down. We don't have to close the doors. We can just voluntarily, freely fund them the way we want to fund them. And if somebody wants to fund them, go ahead, do your thing. But if you don't want to fund them, you shouldn't be forced to fund that stuff. And that's the way all government should work. And it seems like a very simple solution to me. It's being overcomplicated. I'm going to try and just give a little metaphor real quick so everybody can kind of help understand the way my perspective is on all of this. So imagine I wake up on a boat, and this boat is heading away from land. And I look around on the boat, and there are 2 grizzly bears just destroying this boat. And I'm like, that's bad. There's a couple grizzly bears destroying that. And I look over, and there's, 10 puppies in a box. I'm like, that's not good. There's some puppies over there too. So I look around on the boat, and there's 100 other people on the boat besides me. And 50 of them are wearing red, and 50 of them are wearing blue. And I'm like, oh, well, yeah, that's kind of crazy. And so I look around, and the grizzly bears are just destroying stuff. And all of a sudden, one guy stands up, and he starts talking, and he says, hey, I'm here to help you guys, and I'm going to make sure that I do everything I can to help y'all. And he stands up, and he just gives us this big, long speech, and he tells us how he's going to save us from the grizzly bears and save us from all these problems and everything. And so we're like, all right, and we kind of let him lead the way. And he goes and captains the ship, and he turns the ship away from land and just keeps heading out to sea. And I'm standing there going, you should kind of go towards land, because this is kind of a scenario where we might want to go back towards land a little bit, not out into sea, and maybe put ourselves in more jeopardy. And so he gets up there, and once he's up there, you see him go to the back of the boat real quick, and he kind of talks to the grizzly bears for a second. I'm like, wow, that's weird. And he comes back, and then he starts feeding the grizzly bears and taking all of our food on the boat. And we only got so much food, our rations are kind of getting low. And he starts feeding it all to the grizzly bears. And I'm like, well, that's weird. And then he's not really wanting to feed the puppies as much, and just doing what he can. And so we keep on going out. So then after a while, somebody else stands up, and about 4 minutes later, and they stand up and say, hey, I need elected. This guy's doing it wrong. I'm going to save everybody. I'm going to make it right. I got plans. And so we all elect this guy. And the first guy, he was wearing blue. Second guy's wearing red, or whatever, however you want to flip it, red, blue. And sure enough, he goes back and talks to the grizzly bears again, and comes back, and he's like, oh, well, these grizzly bears are bad or stuff, but I'm going to go ahead and keep feeding them. And we're going to keep heading out into the middle of the ocean. And I'm sitting here going, this is really suspicious. And I'm looking at land, and, I see my house right there and my dog, and all I want is my dog and my house, and I just want to go to land. And so I'm like, man, I just need to go that way. I just want to go that way. And I try to tell people, and they all think I'm crazy. We got to do what these other guys say. And so I'm like, all right, I guess I'm stuck on this boat. So every 4 minutes we choose a leader, and every single time they swear to us that they're going to help stop the boat from sinking, and they have a big plan, and they know how they're going to stop the boat from sinking and guarantee it and get all of our hopes up. And then immediately once we elect them, they turn and they go and they start feeding the bears, which is completely counterproductive. So at this point, I don't believe any of them anymore. I don't have any faith in them, and I have no belief that they're going to do what they say. I just know that they're going to go feed the bears, and that they're going to lie to us and continue to lie to us. So there's no point in me even trying to believe them, because it's a lie every time. And so at what point do I have to give up? And so I'm sitting here realizing that we're in a bad shape, and that the boat is sinking, and that we're all sinking in it, and that there's no option. And so my plan now has become to just go towards land, and to go to my dog and my house and worry about my stuff and figure out however I can get my way to land. So as this is going on, the leaders, they keep blaming us and saying, well, the red people voted this way for the other guy, or the blue people voted, and they keep all the focus on us, and they keep everybody fighting. And nobody ever really stops to look at the people that keep feeding the grizzly bears. And they just keep fighting and blaming each other. And I'm sitting here watching the whole boat break out into chaos. And everybody starts fighting and arguing. And now the boat's still going down because these grizzly bears are just wrecking house, just tearing down the boat. And I'm like, oh, man, this is a really bad situation. Everybody's fighting. The boat's sinking. And these grizzly bears are just destroying everything. And I don't know what to do. And I'm looking at land. And I'm just saying, man, man, I want to go to my dog and my house and just take care of my stuff. I want to get to land and off this crazy boat and just go to shore and take care of my stuff. And that's all I want. I just want to be left alone and get away from this madness. And every 4 minutes, we just keep electing people, and we keep getting further and further out, and the grizzly bears just keep wrecking house until the boat is all but sinking. And at this point, I got to decide on whether to swim to shore and risk it that way, or to stay on the boat while it sinks. And so that's basically what I'm doing at this point. I am swimming to shore, and I'm pulling all stops, and I'm letting loose, and I'm trying to lead others and tell others, let's swim to shore. Please, let's swim to shore. And in this scenario, shore is localism to me, to locally in the community. And that's all we can control. That's all we can do. If we were self-sufficient as a community and put our arms around each other and lifted each other up and could feed ourselves and provide our own energy, we would be fine through any disaster or anything that the world throws at us. And I think that is the key to everything, is trying to be self-sufficient as soon as possible. Right here where we're standing. Just don't care about any of that other stuff. Go out into your communities and help the people in your community. Do anything to start helping people, and it will manifest. Everyone will start doing it, and it will reach out and grow, and it will be a great thing. And so do everything you can to build your community up. And that's what I'm trying to say in this scenario. And from there, the rest, the grizzly bears, in case you haven't figured it out, are going to be the military industrial complex, which is the number one thing our taxes go to. And it's a terrible thing that's happening in the world, and I won't fund it. And I think the outcome of all these wars is more power for the people that are manipulating us. And it's a perpetual cycle that we are digging down worse and worse by giving them more power to control us more. And at some point, we have to stop. We have to stop and just turn around and walk away and do what's best for humanity, and do what's best for our communities, and do what's best for life in general. And so that is the number one grizzly bear that's tearing it up. The other thing is the Federal Reserve. They're manipulating our dollar, they're controlling our financial system, and they're wrecking it. And they're helping their buddies, and they're controlling the system on such a massive level, it's incomprehensible. So we have to figure out a way to overcome that. The puppies were the government organizations, the entities that are like Medicaid, stuff like that. Those are small in comparison to the grizzly bears that are just destroying stuff. So the grizzly bears would be the military and the Federal Reserve, and the puppies are going to be welfare, EPA, education system, things like that. The puppies do drain on us, and they are hard to take care of. They're a pain in the butt to take care of, but there's a positive to them. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily a bad thing. So we don't want to end those per se, but we definitely want to give the people the ability to fund them still, if you will. So just openly get a puppy if you want. I personally don't want really any puppies. I like my puppy at home, and I'm going to focus on him. If I notice that one of them is starving or something, I may, throw a bone out there and be like, here you go. Here's some dog food for you, puppy. You're starving. And if it's a puppy that I think's a good dog, if there's dogs out there biting people, I may not, which might be like the CIA and stuff like that, I'm probably not going to ever fund that. That's might be a puppy that might have to just be fend for itself, or I won't be contributing to it. But I don't mind funding to the roads and to the disability program and things like that. There's just I wish there was a competitive market. I think that the free market is always the answer to everything. And without a free market, the government can manipulate the systems. We can voluntarily contribute to a sector of a government, and then each department have a competitive free market inside of it. And from there, the free market will dictate that certain forms will be more efficient, and the most efficient is always going to win, and the best ideas will flourish instead of letting money flourish and robbing us to just let everybody waste the money. And that logically doesn't make any sense. It's a recipe for disaster. So tighten the belt, let the free market run, and continue to have all of these programs, and just make it to where we can voluntarily contribute to them, and they work from the budgets we give them. It's really so simple. It doesn't have to be this complex and so chaotic. And like I said, I think they're doing it on purpose to try and make the system go down. This is the answer. This is the answer, is the free market and letting the people decide through freedom. Freedom is always the answer to everything. That's the answer to fix all of this whole mess we're in. I think that everything should always be answered with freedom until somebody's been harmed. And if there is no victim, there is no crime. But if there is a victim, then we always need to seek due process and justice in this world. And there has to be a balance of both. And you have to have both in order for this society to function. But the tables and everything's turned so far out of whack. The balance of justice and the balance of everything is just, it's not even what it seems. It's all an illusion. I guess I'm just trying to break down that illusion and get into the easiest, most simplistic way to fix all of this. Every single politician in DC, president, senator, all of them are all part of the system, and they're all buddies, and they are all working to perpetuate that system. I think a lot of them might be a wolf in sheep's clothing, if you will. They'll stand there and tell us one thing, and then the second they get elected, they turn around and they perpetuate it more. I do like some of the things that Trump is saying, not all of them by any means. At the end of it all, I don't believe him in any way. Last time he was in office, he did Operation Warp Speed, gave Fauci 420 million vaccines. He took Syria's oil, and it was like if somebody steals my car, him just giving it to his buddy. He went and took ISIS's oil, which was Syria's oil, and gave it to ExxonMobil. That's all part of the system. That's him going back and feeding the grizzly bear and telling us, oh no, the grizzly bear is bad, but then going and feeding it. So I don't honestly believe him. And then the final one, and on camera in front of everyone,
at his presidential address on March 5th, 2025,
he said he wanted to be the international world security. Those were the words that he said. You can go and look them up and see that he has plans, that he openly said that he wants to be the international world security. Anyone who believes in freedom or anything near the libertarian idea would never be okay with this. That's not okay, and not something that should be in our vocabulary or our job to do. Policing the world and being an international world security force is not a good idea at all. And that's only going to cost us more money. And it seems like it's all a plan to take from the entities now and just save money for the war that's preparing. And it seems like we're getting prepared for a war. And also the manipulation of the dollar. I think that, once again, Musk is a wolf in sheep's clothing, and that they are going to drop the dollar, and when it crumbles, they're going to introduce it with an electronic currency that they have absolute control of. And if you look at China, China has a social credit score, and they keep track of everything through a digital currency, and that's definitely what Musk is pushing. And that's going to be the answer when the bottom drops out, and it kind of seems like they might be deliberately doing it. That's why I don't have any faith in it, because it seems like they all work together, both sides, and that they're both deliberately trying to collapse the system so they can come in and take control. And I can prove how both sides do it. Biden is just as guilty, and all those other Democrats are just as guilty. So don't feel like I'm just picking on Republicans and Democrats are above this in any way, shape, or form, because they are guilty, if not more guilty, because they don't tell us the good things. They just do all the bad things, as far as economically and as far as pushing us further into debt as a country and borrowing things we don't have. I mean, that's never the answer. When you're in debt, you don't borrow to pay back debt and then borrow to pay back that borrowed, and then you just keep borrowing and borrowing and borrowing. Eventually something's going to happen, and it's not going to work anymore, and it's going to collapse, and that's what's on our doorstep right now.
A monetary system based on a tangible object is the only answer. Our dollar is not currently backed by anything. Therefore, it can be easily manipulated, which is why Bitcoin is fundamentally flawed, and the gold standard is fundamentally sound.
So the next 15 videos are going to be of the letters I got from the IRS and the reasons I will not pay them, because they're breaking the law or doing something terrible to mankind and humanity that I feel they shouldn't be doing. And for moral reasons, I will not pay them. And you can call it religion, you can call it beliefs, you can call it morals, you can call it whatever you want. But the core of what I believe in will not ever change, and I will not change that. And I will stand up for myself, and I will stand up in court to the IRS all by myself. I don't care. And use my constitutional rights at due process, because I have due process, and they can't override the Constitution. That's not something they can do. And I will use due process, and I'll go to court, and I will represent myself, and I will prove that they're breaking the law, and I shouldn't be an accessory. Legally speaking, I should not be forced to be an accessory to a crime. You can't force me to do that, much less extort me from my money, because taxation's theft at the end of it all. If I don't voluntarily give it to you, it's extortion. I think that's a crime, but they're doing it every day. I want to stand my ground, and I'm offering solutions. I don't like to complain about things and then not offer solutions. So my solution to all of this is a voluntary system with a free market based entity behind it all. And I think it would be a very simplistic solution. It would keep everybody happy. Everybody could fund the things they want to fund, and we could achieve peace through freedom in this world, because that's ultimately what I'm getting at. I had a little boy that passed away, and I promised him I'd do all I can to try and help the world. My fundamental goal through all of this is to try and create peace in this world. And I honestly believe that the only way that we can create peace is through freedom, because all any of us want is the freedom to do what we want and be left alone. We don't want somebody harassing us and telling us how to live. And as long as we don't hurt anybody, we should be free to do that. So no victim, no crime. And if there is a victim, seek due process. And until then, let's let freedom ring. And from there, I think we'll know peace. So that's just what I'm after. That's what I'm trying to do. And that's my goal through all of this, is just try and create freedom and peace and keep my promise to my son. I hope everybody understands. And if anybody ever wants to sit down and talk about this openly in a conversation, I would love to. I have a way to openly talk about it. I think we all need to just sit down and trying to work for solutions to all the problems in the world. And I don't mind sitting down and openly talking with somebody. Let's just keep it peaceful and try and figure out solutions. If anybody out there wants to get a hold of me, my phone number is 573-286-8316. I'm not shy and I'm not running from anyone. So I'll openly talk to anyone about this, including the IRS. I would love to have an open jury trial if you guys want to go that route. I don't mind. I'm not scared. And I think that somebody needs to stand up at some point. So here we are. And this is a special invitation to Elon Musk and President Trump. I know it's a long shot that you guys would ever sit and talk to somebody like me, but if you did, I honestly have ideas on how to help so many different ways. And it's all based on things that you say you would like to try and do. Trump, if you believed in what you said you believe in, you would want to pardon me for my taxes. But unfortunately, I don't believe in pardoning and executive orders. I think it's a little bit abuse of the system, and it puts too much power in one person's hands, and I think that's a bad thing. But if you honestly believed in not having taxes and stuff, you would want to pardon me, and definitely would want to support me in doing what I'm doing. You would want to help encourage this and push for the ideas that I'm helping to try and create. If you wanted to support what you say you believe in, you would help me make these ideas I'm proposing a reality. For the last 20 years, I've proven myself and not paid taxes and practiced what I preach. I've put my life on the line and lived it, boots on the ground, as much as you could possibly live it. I've suffered and dealt with the consequences of not paying my taxes. And when it comes to efficiency, I've had to live my life the last 20 years while making less than $35K every single year. So that is the epitome of living on a budget, especially with 4 kids at times. So I have figured out how to live as modestly and as minimalistic as you possibly could. So when it comes to that aspect, I think I have that pretty covered as well, and I could definitely help create efficiency in this government all the way through. I have countless ideas and solutions on ways to fix it, and ways we could do it peacefully without making it all crumble, and to where everybody would be happy. And I think optimally, if we could have everybody sit down from all sides and just peacefully work for solutions, it doesn't have to go through Senate and the House and all this other stuff. We can just sit down as people and just work together for the best of humanity, the best that we can. And I think that that's what it's kind of going to take in order to fix all this. If you don't support me and stand by me, then it shows that you're kind of a hypocrite to everything you're saying. Same with Elon Musk. I have a lot of ideas on how to help the world as far as energy and inventions. And so if you really want to help fuel the world and create energy, like you say, Tesla and stuff. I mean, we all know how far we can go down that rabbit hole. But if you really honestly believe that, then sit down and have a conversation with me. As far as government efficiency, I guarantee I could make it multiple times better than it's being ran now. I could make it to where we wouldn't be so divided and where people would be happy with the outcome because they'd be able to voluntarily contribute to the ones they want to contribute. And as far as energy goes, I have an over unity invention that I know would produce over unity. I know there's a lot of other inventors out there and a lot of other things that would, and I don't know why we're not pursuing all those options, but that's something that I would definitely like to talk to you about, both of you guys. There are many things I'd like to talk to you guys about, but something tells me, A, that I'm obviously not important enough, and B, that you would never answer any of these questions and sit down and talk about this. So this is my invitation to see if you guys have the fortitude to do such. Hopefully someday this eventually catches on and the people will share it far enough to where it puts enough pressure on you guys to maybe sit down and talk to me. I know it would put a lot of pressure on my life, and life would probably be hard for me, and you never know the outcome of that. That's a scary thing I've always kind of had to look out for. So I guess that's it. Stay posted and watch for the rest of these videos. I'm going to make a little mini documentary here of my taxes and why I won't pay them, and why I will not be an accessory to the federal government's crimes, and why I morally won't do it as well. So just follow along. I plan to give a reason for each letter I got. So stay tuned. It's going to be fun.